We can control these amazing forces that both destroy and bring life. We don't need to go back to the trees anymore. We have conquered the forces of the universe. Some may say the gods gifted us with the eternal flame. Imagine 1.9 million years ago, you and I are on the open plains of the Serengeti on many different routes we were becoming humans, but one that turbo blasted us into humanness was cooking our food. Homo sapiens sapiens went right from being ape to Homo sapiens sapien. That's not how it happened. Today we're Homo sapiens sapiens. Everyone who is alive today and who is human is Homo sapiens sapien. And your common ancestor of all Homo sapiens sapiens goes back a little bit beyond 300,000 years, following their grandmother's grandmother, going back, reeling back the wheels of time, millions and millions of years. We all share a grandmother. Hello, hello, and thank you for joining me. This is Science Stuff with Brandi Beckett. My name is Brandi Beckett. I am a 52-year-old science communicator and a transgender activist. I think today we are going to go on a little science adventure. Let's do a thought experiment, because that's what's fun about science. You get to do such wonderful thought experiments. We have a common ancestor that we share, our grandmother, so to speak, with the chimpanzees and the bonobos and the apes and all of the other gorillas and orangutans, like all of the apes, right? So if you look at all of the apes, if you go back in history, following their grandmother's grandmother, going back, reeling back the wheels of time, millions and millions of years, we all share a grandmother. You go back 15 million years, every ape that's alive today, their grandmother at 15 million years ago, it's the same group. Their grandmother, the same group of primates that our grandmothers were. They were the same. And if you go back only 5 to 7 million years, somewhere in that period, chimpanzee, bonobos, and our grandmothers, they were all the same. The closer in time we get to today, the more further away we get from our ancestors of the other apes, because we started doing our own thing a little bit different than most of the other apes, or at least us and a bunch of other groups that were like us. It's not like we're the only Homo sapiens sapiens went right from being ape to Homo sapiens sapien. That's not how it happened. Today we're Homo sapiens sapiens. Everyone who is alive today and who is human is Homo sapiens sapien. And your common ancestor of all Homo sapiens sapiens goes back a little bit beyond 300,000 years. Because it gets a little complex with the breeding populations of meandering around each other through the last 100,000, 500,000, million, 2 million, 3 million, all of those years, there's lots of different groups of hominids who interbreed with each other. We're not going to get bogged down in all the minutiae of the genetic interbreeding of our species, but just rest assured that everyone alive today is a Homo sapiens sapien. And we have ancestry going back about 300,000 years of being Homo sapiens sapien. And if you rewind the clock and you reverse our planet spinning around our star, do that about 400,000 times, play it backwards in time, right? 400,000 years ago, we're really probably not going to find anything that's Homo sapiens sapien, you know, like us with our chins and our foreheads the way they are, and our face tucked in. 400,000 years, there wasn't really Homo sapiens sapiens. There were proto-Homo sapiens sapiens. And if you keep rewinding the clock to when we first start calling things human, around 2 million years ago, that's when we first start to see evidence of humans, or human-like structures. All of the configurations that we look at and compare with the other humans and go, yes, this trait is human. It is only human. We don't see it with other types of apes. We don't see it with the Australopithecines. We only see these traits, these physical traits in the humans. So we agree on human things about around 2 million years ago. There's this group of hominids that start to appear, and we call them Homo erectus. I want to take us back in a thought experiment to 1.9 million years ago. Imagine 1.9 million years ago, you and I are on the open plains of the Serengeti. We hear the stories of how the trees went away, how our ancestors learned to live beyond the trees. And that was remarkable. And you hear stories after stories, these ancient people that lived hundreds of thousands and millions of years before us, coming down from the trees and taking on the open plains. This was remarkable stories we would hear as we sat around our campfire. Our campfire was remarkable in itself because those ancestors that we hear stories about, they didn't have the magic we have. We have a true magic given to us by the forces of the universe. We can control these amazing forces that both destroy and bring life. We are the first ones. Our ancestors seen it before. They've ran from it. The trees were struck down by mighty bolts. They fled on foot, only to be captured by lepers. They flee from the fires because everything fled from the fire. Fire brought destruction, and no one knew how to control it. Not the cats around us, not the big scary dogs and hyenas around us either. Not the giant sloths. None of the creatures who mastered the plains controlled the fires, but we're sitting around one, and it is keeping us safe. We don't need to go back to the trees anymore. We have conquered the forces of the universe. Some may say the gods gifted us with the eternal flame that we maintain, that just a few generations before us, they learned to control and keep alive. We keep this magical force alive with us tonight as we tell each other the stories. The ones that come before us and the ones that will come after us, we're sure that they will keep this magic with them, because this magic is what keeps us alive. It keeps us humans alive. And not just at night. Imagine we didn't have a campfire and we are on the open plains. We are not the fastest. By far, we are not the strongest, nor are we the best with sight, hearing. We couldn't pick up on the subtle cues to know when to run, even if we could run away from the bigger, stronger apex predators out here on the plains. We need our fire. That is what keeps us alive. But what keeps us on the move in the day, that's when the magic really comes into play. For we not only control our safety at night, we control our time in the day. And what do we mean by that? Have you not heard of the stories of the ancestors who lived exclusively off of the fruits and berries they would gather? How long were their meals to last during that day? Now, you and I sit around our campfire. We're very smart humans, and we understand that food we put in our mouth turns into the energy we exert through our bodies. So we understand calories on a basic level, and we understand to do the task we need to do throughout the day, we need certain amount of calories as intake. How many calories are in that piece of fruit hanging low off that branch? Not many. Enough to get us by. Enough to get us to gather more fruits and vegetables. And we can eat and gather those fruits and vegetables, which would give us energy to eat and gather more fruits and vegetables. In fact, our distant cousins, the gorillas, you can see them all day long. They sit and they eat. They eat and they sit. And that's all they do all day. Sit and they eat. Because they need the calories. And why do they need so many calories? Our other ape cousins, they have very expensive internal organs, their gut systems, their digestive systems, all of these systems we have in our bodies, they cost calories to maintain and to function. If you have a large intestinal digestive system to process the raw foods that you are consuming, you're going to need a lot of energy going into that system because it takes a lot to break down big greeny leaves. It takes a lot to break down all of the grasses that those apes will eat, all of the leaves that those apes will eat, all of the raw roots that those apes will gnaw on, and the fruits as well. So, why do we have time to gather up firewood and make a fire? Why do we have time to go on far trips and get prize hunting and scavenging food? Because we have the time to do it. Because we mastered the magic of fire. That is what we did in the day. We learned. Ancestors not too distant from us 1.9 million years ago. Our ancestors, as we sit around the campfire, they taught us how to not only stay safe at night with fire, but how to cook food to eat it quicker. Think about it. Let's say we need 1,500 calories to get through the day, just to function through the day. How long is that going to take us if we gather up our roots, our leaves, our fruits? We can get a big basket, and this big basket's going to contain about 1,500 calories. How long is it going to take us to eat those 1,500 calories? When was the last time you gnawed on raw leaves? When was the last time you ate enough fruit to satisfy 1,000 calories? You're going to be sitting and eating for a long period of time. Now, let's take those roots, those tubers, let's put them in a pot. Let's get some of those leaves and put them in a pot. Let's put a little water in a pot and let's put it over our magic that we call fire. And let's cook it down for 20 minutes. And then let's take 20 minutes to eat those 1,500 calories. Now we have all day to do what we want. That freed us up. That made us more mobile. That's why we started to be more efficient with our processing of our calories, which the byproduct of that was we got smaller guts. Because if you cook the food, you're processing it already. It's already getting pre-digested within those cooking foods. Sure, you might lose a little bit of vitamins, but as long as you have a good variety of food and you can cook it, you're going to get all of the nutritional value you need, and you're going to get it more efficiently than your ancestors before you who ate it raw. This allowed our distribution of calories to shift. Look at gorillas. Look at them today in our days, in 21st century days. Gorillas still have giant guts. Chimpanzees have pretty good sized guts. All of these apes have good sized guts. And if you look at their skeletons, look at the rib cage, it's bell shaped. Look at our humans, they're conical shaped. Our ribs, conical shaped, carved down, right? Because they're entrapping a smaller, more efficient digestive system that we don't have to pour all of our calories into. We got small, conical shaped ribs and small little guts because our digestive system got more efficient. Now the calories we took in that were going to our ancestors' expensive calorie burning, expensive digestive systems were not needed as they were. So now we start to see us and those around us with smaller guts, different shaped ribs, and we start to get bigger brains because we're putting a big demand on exploring these Serengeti plains and figuring out better ways to live our lives than our ancestors did. Better ways to scavenge food. Better ways to stay safe at night. Better ways to gather resources. Better ways to raise our young. Better ways to be the best humans we can be. And that's what we started doing at 1.9 million years ago. We started to become humans on many different routes. We were becoming humans, but one that turbo blasted us into humanness was cooking our food. Our Australopithecine ancestors had bell-shaped ribs. Lucy, Australopithecus afarensis, bell-shaped ribs. Australopithecus africanus, the tongue child, bell-shaped ribs. All of those Australopithecines going back, they had expensive digestive systems. They spent a lot of calories digesting food, which tells us that they didn't necessarily cook their food all the time. Humans, Homo erectus, 1.9 million years, we start to see Homo erectus. Homo erectus, conical shaped ribs, indicating very small, proficient digestive system, large skull, indicating massive energy consuming brain. They nearly doubled the brain size of their ancestors just a few 100,000 years ago. And they did that because the energy they were taking in shifted from digestive consumption to brain thinking. So think about your ancient ancestors, the Homo erectus, and all of their ancestors around them, and the ancestors that came later on that shaped us with our efficient digestive system and our big old brains and our love for cooked food, because it works. Cooked food saves you from eating all day. We all do it. There's not a single human culture that does not cook. Every single culture that we have studied going back 100,000 years have used fire to cook their food. There's been studies where people try to exist on raw foods. It doesn't last. People cannot extend their life and strive and maintain a healthy condition solely on raw food. We've tried it. Doesn't work for our population. We depend and rely on cooked food. We are humans partially because we eat cooked food. And I am going to leave you with an interesting science fact. The chimpanzee is more closely related to the trout than the trout is to the shark. Bye-bye for now.